So let's go ahead and start our conversation about leveraging that next big opportunity for your business. We have three amazing experts to guide us through, and I'm excited to introduce first and foremost Savannah Campbell. Savannah is the owner and founder of Caribe & Co., a Caribbean-inspired coffee and cocktail syrup brand in Warren, Rhode Island. She graduated from Johnson and Wales University in 2019 with her associates in culinary arts and bachelor's in food and beverage entrepreneurship. Formerly a professional chef and now a food and beverage founder, she's been in the food space for over a decade. In her spare time, Savannah loves attending concerts, trying new restaurants, and traveling to new places. It is great to have you here, Savannah.
I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. And we are dropping some places that you can stay connected with all of our speakers. So look for that in the chat. Next, we have Alex Swain. Alex is a strategic executive with over 15 years of experience driving capital access, supplier growth, and institutional partnerships across financial services, commercial real estate, and economic development. As Associate Director of Capital Programs at NMSDC, he leads 5 national initiatives designed to unlock scalable growth and investment readiness for over 18,000 businesses annually. Alex specializes in middle market opportunity structuring, capital deployment syndication, and ecosystem engagement. His leadership has forged trusted partnerships with private equity firms, venture capitalists, commercial banks, CDFIs, and federal agencies such as MBDA and SBA. With a career spanning multiple roles, Alex brings a proven track record of building high impact programs and partnerships that fuel job creation, wealth generation, and economic resilience. He is deeply committed to cross sector collaboration and believes economic development is a lever for generational impact, driving measurable outcomes through capital innovation and supplier empowerment. It is great to have you here, Alex.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And next we have Joy M. Hutton. Joy is the founder of Joy of Consulting, a management consulting firm, and On the Go GLAM, a beauty on demand marketplace. Joy is an advocate of entrepreneurs and small businesses and serves on a number of small business councils and has a strong commitment to working with organizations that develop female entrepreneurs. Joy was honored by the city of Houston for her leadership in entrepreneurship, and February 4th, 2020 was named Joy M. Hutton Day. In honor of this day, she launched the Lead Her Ship Fund, a micro grant fund for female entrepreneurs. She was named to Inc. magazine's 2022 Female Founders 100 list, and she was recently appointed by the Harris County judge to serve on the Harris County Women's Commission to support health and economic initiatives of women in her community. It is great to have you here, Joy.
Thank you. Always happy to be here and looking forward to getting into this topic. So, hello, everyone.
Hello. Okay, so Joy, my first question is for you. I want to talk about these big opportunities. When a big opportunity presents itself, what's the first step a small business owner should take to decide if it is even worth pursuing?
Yeah, and this is such a great topic because you are excited about these big opportunities when they come along, but I would say don't say yes right away. Number one, big opportunities are exciting, so that initial adrenaline rush can cloud your judgment. So take a little time to process it and to assess the opportunity objectively, and then just a quick I would say framework. I like to provide quick things for you all to remember. So, using the acronym RISK, the R is for ROI. And so, you want to know what's the potential return of this opportunity in terms of revenue, visibility, partnerships. The I will be for impact. How does it move your business forward long term? The S would be for scope. Do you have a team or do you have the team to do this opportunity, the time and the budget to execute this opportunity well. And then the K would be for, is it a key fit? So does it align with your brand, your mission, your expertise? I have definitely turned down really big opportunities, six-figure opportunities, because it didn't align with my brand. And so you have to ask yourself that question as well. And then, you want to ask yourself, can we do this well without sacrificing our existing obligations or the quality of your business? Because a good opportunity can also drain your business, and that's actually a bad decision. So avoid that shiny object syndrome. Again, we love possibilities, but not every opportunity is your opportunity. And it can actually distract from the core of your business.
That makes so much sense. And one thing I love about Joy is she's going to give you an acronym. You are going to go home with an acronym. So we are going to remember risk because it really breaks that down into easily evaluating, is this going to be worth it, instead of saying yes to everything. So key. Thank you, Joy. Okay, my next question is for Alex. So conferences can be a great opportunity for small business owners, but they can also feel very overwhelming. How can small business owners strategically prepare for walking in so they're ready to seize that spotlight?
Thanks, Brittany. Preparation is key, and developing a framework that you can use ahead of conference through research is going to help you, one, retain value, but also understand, what am I going to come back for? And once you've experienced this, your framework is going to help you understand, did I get what I set out to retain from that experience? Was it worth the cost of time? So the first would be, know your targets, who and why. Use a conference contact map, a one-page worksheet where you can list 5 to 10 people, organizations you want to meet with, why they matter to you. So if you're walking up to their booth, you have that talking point ready. Sometimes there's a line to speak to certain corporate buyers, and they also want to know, why do you want to engage them? And that helps make it a more fluid conversation. Second, similar, I would put some SMART goals together. So when you think about framing the conversation, it needs to have a language and tone that shows you're confident in what you're bringing as a service, but also as a value. So having a SMART goal that can say, secure 3 follow-up meetings with capital providers by next Friday. So you're specific, you're measurable, and you're able to have achievable and relevant, and time-bound goals. So that would be my second. And then finally, just to close out, I would say maybe even consider having a little toolkit. Some people will put a media kit together, where they'll have a 30-second video, or they may concatenate a bunch of different case studies that show the value or quality of work that they've delivered to clients. Having that is super useful. And if you're comfortable, set up a spreadsheet. That's going to allow you to track everything so you can go into it and then leave and measure, did you engage the who? Did you accomplish the why? And then did you get the ROI that you set out for?
Yeah, that is really helpful in thinking about preparing really well ahead of time and having those specific goals so you know what to do with your time over this long experience or multi-day opportunity. Thank you. Okay, Savannah, my next question is for you. Social media can catapult a business into the spotlight overnight. What are some of the smartest steps to take if you suddenly go viral?
Yeah. So this is something that I've experienced kind of over the last year. And there are some key takeaways that I had from kind of like our viral spotlight moment. So it can be overwhelming if you're like hit with a bunch of, inquiries or questions or orders, especially to just disappear and like keep your head down and work. And although you should do all those things, you also need to stay present and engage with your audience. Because like when you have a video that kind of like goes up, you're going to have so many new customers that want your attention. They want your responses to the questions that they might have. And they also kind of want to know the ins and outs of your business. So one thing that I implement is, to keep my customer base engaged, just like behind the scenes, we're packing orders, we're answering questions and responding to questions on video for social media. So that's social media content, and it's also engagement with your base. It's very easy to disappear, but like one thing to keep that viral moment, the longevity in that viral moment is to stay present on social media and stay engaged with your base. Kind of like on the back end of things, I would say is to know your limits and to manage your inventory. So, are you a self-manufacturer? Do you have a co-manufacturer? What is the, capacity of your production essentially? How much can you produce to meet the demand that you have out there? It's important not to overextend yourself to avoid burnout and also to avoid putting out products that are, less than your standard just to say that you have products out there. Um, an important key part of that is to scale slowly and to plan ahead as much as like your funding will allow you. So when you are scaling to, meet the longevity in that viral moment, it's important to, maybe increase your production capacity by a small percentage, by 20 or 25% at first, before you just go head over heels into all this inventory that you might not be able to sell if you're not able to maintain that kind of viral moment. So it's staying present, it's managing your inventory, it's knowing your limits, and then it's also scaling slowly despite any pressures that might be out there for you to like always be in stock.
Yes, that's so key. And I love that you mentioned still trying to, engage with your audience because that's such a huge part of it. And I'm sure it does feel overwhelming. Like you get all these orders in, you're like, I got to get to work. But that is a huge part of why people are connected with you and so many really like smart ways to approach this. So you get that longevity out of it. Um, Thank you. Okay, Joy, my next question is for you. How do small business owners make sure the opportunities they chase line up with their long-term goals instead of pulling them off course?
Yeah, and so I think a lot of what Savannah was saying about the branding is super important. And then going back to what I was mentioning earlier about your mission and your values, that should guide every decision that you're making. If it doesn't move you closer to your 3 to 5 year vision or even your vision for your business next year, then it's likely not worth the detour. And then I would also, again, reflect on what does your brand really stand for? And does this opportunity align with that? Will it attract the kind of clients or partners that you want long term? I remember when I first started my business, I was a part of all these chambers, associations, all of these different things, but my target audience was not in the room. And so a lot of the times we do networking and we're seeking business in the wrong spaces. So you definitely need to be intentional about that. And also, don't chase short term wins that create long term headaches. You know how they say all money is not good money. So, scale what works, say no to what only looks big, and it doesn't build sustainability for your business. No goes a long way, and it is a complete sentence. So, be okay with saying no. Protect your time, your energy, your team's bandwidth, because we can stretch our team too far as well if you have a team. And your profit also depends on these opportunities. I've also done opportunities in the past where I'm like, okay, I spent a lot of money on this, but then it ended up being a marketing opportunity. I just considered it a marketing opportunity versus a revenue generating activity. So that's the thing too when you're doing partnerships. Is this to build brand awareness, or is this for you to actually generate revenue?
Yeah, that is really helpful in like defining what makes sense and also that term like all money is not good money. Like, is this going to send you on a spiral out of your goals? Have you kind of focused on your goals? Do you know what your goals are so that you're very intentional? Because it's like you said, you can join all of these programs and things like that, but time is already limited for small business owners. So I think that's so key about knowing what customers are in the room. Okay, my next question is for Alex. So, once you're at a major event, what practical strategies can help a small business owner stand out when and make that lasting connection?
I would recommend the 3C connection strategy. And that's something that helps you be strategic, not flashy. So the 3Cs are clarity, context, and connection. So you heard me speak a little bit about a potential toolkit that you could prepare going into it. We have a pitch builder template on our website and our learning center. So it helps groups build a 30-second video that covers who you are, what you do, any unique values. We also recommend building something a little bit longer that may be your brag sheet or speak to some key metrics or a specific ask. And that's going to help you have a compelling elevator story or pitch. Second, I would think about tailoring each of your pitches to the industry type you're engaging. So if it's more focused on corporate buyers, then you're going to need to speak to reliability or some of your procurement readiness efforts or programs you've completed, even certifications. And then if you're speaking to someone that may be a capital provider, the tone's going to change. So you're going to need to know things such as your EBITDA, tax return years that you have, different client types that you've served, and that finally allows you to land on the connection. So when you use some of the engagement sheets, or as I put it, a four box, you can see who has been a really high impact connection that you've made that has a high potential for an ROI or an opportunity, or maybe bucketing a relationship that you made into a box where there's a high cost to continue to engage them, and you're not sure if it's going to have an ROI that you need. So those end up helping you have a strong connection strategy. So clarity, context, and then hopefully the connection through your engagement sheet.
Yes, that's wonderful. And I like kind of identifying at the end where each opportunity goes because it gives you a lot of clarity in what to pursue with your limited time.
We
So
love
that's
an acronym.
yes, look, acronyms all over the place. Risk, three C's. I've got my ears peaked for another one. Oh my gosh, I'm not even kidding. We love an acronym over here. Okay, so Savannah, my next question is for you. So, can you share how you turned that moment of online visibility into meaningful business growth beyond just the social media likes?
Yes, I wish I had an acronym to give you, but I do have some key points that I would love to highlight. So I feel like when you are thrust into this spotlight, right, you have kind of this one moment to capitalize on. You need to already have a business plan and strategy in place because when you are in front of a much larger audience than typical, you're going to be being pulled in a bunch of different directions. And it's important to balance what customers want with the vision that you have for your brand and to not stray from that. Kind of as Joy was saying, something might seem like a shiny opportunity, it might seem like, something cool in the moment, but does it align with your future goals? The next thing that I personally did, and I highly recommend, is working with a business advisor. So there are free resources, and of course, there are paid resources out there as well, but explore the options that kind of fit your budget for you to talk about, how do you expand without necessarily like draining your cash flow? How do you increase your production? What financing options are out there in order for you to not only grow in the spotlight, but also to maintain profitability and have that be sustainable. The next thing that I did was I didn't waver with the ups and downs. So it can be kind of disheartening if you have a big moment followed by kind of a period of a lull, and then you have another big moment. Like we all know, owning a small business is like being on a roller coaster. So to be unwavering in my plans, in my goals, and in how I show up despite what's going on kind of like in the back end, and continuing to be, resilient and to show up and to engage with my audience. That's kind of how I'm building longevity with my viral moment.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I love how you said like you're sticking to it, you have your plan ahead of time. And you may not have had an acronym, but you did cue me up to say, did you know AOF has free business advisors?
There you
Like,
go.
yes, thank you. So Amber dropped the link in the chat and you can schedule one-on-one business advising. Joy is one of our business advisors as well. So you can get into a session with her and they provide that accountability and that insight for your business because it can be tough. You kind of need someone to help you direct oftentimes or just someone to bounce ideas off of. So please check out that resource. We'll of course include it in the follow-up. So no worries. So thank you, Savannah. We didn't even plan that. Okay, my next question is for Joy. Joy, what common mistakes do you see when small business owners try to capitalize on big opportunities, and how can they avoid those mistakes?
Yes. So mistake number one is, Alex said this earlier, lack of preparation. You have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And so a lot of people say yes before they're ready, whether that's having contracts in place,
Mhm.
systems in place, your team, if you need something for a big opportunity, because a lot of people lack the capacity to actually do big opportunities. So again, just being ready. Alex had also mentioned, having a media kit. So along with the media kit, also having a pitch deck, a proposal template, your pricing. Because sometimes you're stuck in the pricing for these smaller opportunities, but then you don't know how to leverage those big opportunities when they come, because you're just like, ooh, I don't know what to price myself for corporate versus, a small business opportunity. So having all of that in place, you have to be prepared, because they will just gloss right over you if you do not have your stuff in order. Also, overextending your resources. Taking on too much can also break you. It can break your business faster than slow growth ever will. So I know sometimes slow and steady wins the race, and we don't always want to go slow and steady, but sometimes, going fast can break your business. There is, I know of someone who went on Oprah's, or was listed on Oprah's favorite things. She did not have the inventory when it came around for Oprah's favorite things. So it was a lot of missed opportunities with that, and that set her business up for failure, because now you have all these unfulfilled orders. She dropped the ball. So overextending yourself can sometimes be detrimental to your business. So sometimes it's just not now. It doesn't mean that this opportunity won't happen, but sometimes it means not now. So make sure you have the capacity to do these larger opportunities. And then also, failing to follow up is the last thing. So Savannah mentioned this about getting that initial exposure, but then you don't nurture the relationships afterwards. So that, whether that's your community, whether that's the partner that you worked with on a potential opportunity. So create a follow-up system, emails, check-ins, thank you notes, because you got this opportunity. So you want to say thank you. And you want to turn those wins into long-term collaborations. You don't want it to just be a one-off. You want them to be like, okay, we really enjoy working with you. So,
Yes.
yeah, that's
Those are
it.
such great points. And like, I think it really brings things into perspective about how a big opportunity can seem so attractive. Like, even you mentioned earlier, but if you are unprepared, it can really be detrimental to your business. And I think that just kind of layers on the importance of really understanding your readiness and taking the time to evaluate those opportunities makes so much sense because I do buy what is on Oprah's face. At least I'm like, I'll get one, I'll get something. So that's how you get in trouble. Okay, thank you, Joy. My next question is for Alex. So, and kind of piggybacking on what Joy kind of set us up for, after a big conference or an event, what does effective follow-up look like to build a relationship that does continue to last?
Track for the final one, the three T's, timely, thoughtful, and touch points. So the follow-up, that is where the money is made. The contracts are truly secured. So for timeliness, I would say 48 hours. You have to be disciplined. Reach out within 48 hours of getting back home. Leverage your follow-up template that you may have drafted on the way to the conference or on the way home from the conference. Personalize it because you've taken a business card or took notes after every good conversation and you want to help remind and refresh your contact as to why they are excited to engage you for this follow-up. And that also leads into the thoughtfulness. So when you think about how you've personalized your follow-up within 48 hours, you're also underscoring or reminding them of your value and you're also sharing any resources you may have, anything that wasn't at your fingertips. So it shows you've done work to follow up and give them something um, based off of the conversation that they had with you. And then finally, the last T on touch points, I would continue to track and use the templates and frameworks that show what relationships are valuable, whom you wanted to engage. And as you digest and debrief with your team or digest and marinate in all the success yourself, you're able to list out the relationships and make a decision tree as to who you need to engage next within 48 hours with that thoughtful message. And then you're going to connect with Joy, who is going to help coach and work with you so that you go to the next weight class of revenue. So that's what I see. Three T's: timely, thoughtful, and touch point.
Timely, thoughtful, and touch point. I love it. We're putting all the acronyms in the chat, actually. So we're gonna get
Oh, okay.
in there too. And then one of our panelists, Savannah, she thought of an acronym for what you shared. She shared AIM, Advisor, Initiative, and Mindset. So there's an acronym for everything, you guys. All right, Savannah, my next question is for you. So for small business owners still waiting on their big break, what are some proactive ways to create your own spotlight and build that momentum online?
Yes, I love this question. So I think regardless of, your following size or how far along you are in your brand, one important way and one key way that you can grow your following and grow your customer base is to engage and collaborate with other brands that align with yours or that have kind of adjacent audiences. So for example, for me, we have a simple syrup brand. So I've collaborated with coffee shops that have had, a slightly bigger following than I have. So then I kind of pull their audience in. I've collaborated with ice cream shops and with breweries to like bring our products together and open us both up to a new audience. So no matter how, large or small you are, engage with people in your community and your business community and see how you can kind of leverage those opportunities and help each other. Another one, it seems very cliche, but you never underestimate the power of just like showing up and being authentic and being consistent online. So it might not be like one viral moment that's gonna propel you and you're gonna have the most sustainable business ever. There isn't a moment like that. It's about consistently showing up and consistently putting in the work, consistently doing those collaborations, and also being authentic to yourself and to your brand. So don't let trends, sway you this way or sway you that way. The same how it is when you have all this feedback coming in from customers. Don't let them stray you this way or that way. You have to stay aligned with your brand and then stay consistent. So I think when, you don't have to necessarily wait for one huge moment. Take each small moment and really give it your all. And that's how you capitalize on that.
I love that. And I love how you mentioned like don't so easily get pulled off course. And I think it's so tough on social media because there is always a new trend or a new something that seems like it could just send you into like the stratosphere. But like you said, making those intentional partnerships, staying consistent, like that's going to pay off so much more. Um, okay. We do have one last question for our panel, but we then are going to move into our live Q&A. So if you are in the audience and you have a question for one or all of our panelists, please drop that in the chat because we're going to be collecting those and asking them in just a few minutes. So my final question, I want to hear from all three of y'all, but I want to start with Joy. If you could share one piece of advice for small business owners, one thing they can do today to be ready for their big opportunity, what would it be?
I heard someone say a long time ago, plan your work and work your plan. And that ties back to what Alex and I were both saying about being prepared. You don't rise. My grandmother said something to me a long time ago. You don't rise to the level of opportunity, you rise to the level of your preparation. So again,
Hmm.
be prepared. So I'll say that one more time. You don't rise to the level of the opportunity, you rise to the level of your preparation. So your success depends on how prepared you are. So get your systems tight, those contracts, pricing, the onboarding, build relationships before you need them. Because the honest truth about relationships, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. So
Mm.
you get opportunities because of people who know about you. And then stay visible and consistent. Savannah talked about this. So when opportunity knocks, it already knows your name. So make sure you're prepared. And I'm gonna leave you with another three S's, leave you with one for the road. So this is just, your get ready checklist. So systems, story, and support. So the systems are, again, do you have processes in place for, the contracts, the payments, the communications, the follow-up? The story is your messaging clear? Because if you cannot clearly communicate what your business does, it's going to be hard for you to get certain opportunities. People need to understand exactly what you're doing, and it needs to align. So who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve? What problem are you serving? What's the solution? So having that pitch tight. And then the support, do you have the right team? And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to have full-time people, but do you have a team, independent contractors, temporary workers, whoever, family, friends, whoever, your team, mentors, community that are in a place to help you scale fast. So think about that again, preparation. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And then one of my favorite books is Atomic Habits. If you have not read this book, I love this book because what it does, it takes that preparation and helps you turn that into daily habits. So not just when opportunity comes knocking and you need to get your stuff together. It helps you get prepared ahead of time and making it a habit. Like being prepared should come second nature to you. It should not be panic mode.
Yes, yes, I love that. It's like all the different facets of preparation so that you aren't maybe missing out or finding gaps because you only got 20 minutes to get ready. And so you just like continuously stay ready. So we're gonna atomic habits. We already dropped the three S's. Letters. They're everywhere and I love them and I'm connected. Okay, thank you so much, Joy. Alex, same question for you. If you could share one piece of advice for small business owners, one thing they can do today to be ready for their next big opportunity, what would it be?
I would say to tailor your frameworks for readiness.
Mm,
You are only as ready as the opportunity that you've prepared for. And the frameworks, templates that we're sharing with you, these are all resources to help with your readiness. So if you focus on your investment readiness, if you focus on your opportunity readiness, then you're able to speak to your capacity, your capability, you're able to speak to the T's and all the letters we've said today. So focusing on tailoring your readiness frameworks.
yes, tailoring your readiness frameworks. I love that. And then I love how you mentioned that can indicate like what is your capacity because you really need to know can you actually take part in these opportunities. Thank you, Savannah. My same question for you. If you could share one piece of advice for small business owners, one thing they can do today to be ready for that next big opportunity, what would it be?
Yes. So I love how we're all aligned on our advice. I'm going to kind of echo what Alex and Joy said. So I would say to define your future now and then balance that with the needs of your target audience. Because you can't please everyone, but you can, show up as the best version possible of yourself for your brand and for your specific audience.
Yes. Preparation, it's the name of the game, guys. We got to be prepared. We got to know what's going on. I love it. Thank you so much, Savannah. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into some of our questions from the chat. Please continue to drop those in the chat so we can ask our panelists. This first question, Joy, I believe you mentioned this, but obviously any of the panelists can jump in. What kind of structure or formula do you use to separate your small business pricing from that like corporate pricing when you were talking about those bigger opportunities?
Yeah, and so it depends on what services you're providing, but I think at the end of the day, market research is really key. So you need to understand what is your strategic position. So are you on the high end, or are you on the low end, or are you in the middle? And so doing research on what your pricing model should be based on your competitors. So, and then one of the tricks I was taught early on in business, and it has evolved as I've worked with different clients, but so with my consulting business, initially one of my mentors was like, "You're charging way too low." And so she's like, "If you worked for a big consulting firm and the salary was, $180,000, what would that hourly rate be?" So if you're coming in as a service-based business, for example, I saw some coaches and consultants in the chat, but if you're a service-based business, if you were to offer your services to someone as a full-time employee, what would that be? That's a way to back it up into your hourly rate. Some people do a project-based structure, retainers. So it just depends on what services you're providing. And so, but at the end of the day, you need to know what your revenue goals are, what your services are worth. One of the other ways of trying to figure that out is having a project budget. So if you do say, okay, I'm worth $150 an hour, and you have independent contractors that are working for you, and maybe they're $50 an hour, and then you have all these resources that are built into you delivering that project. If you look at the total cost to you that you're delivering that project, and let's just say it's $1,500 and you charge the client $1,700, where you're only making a $200 profit on that. A lot of mistakes that entrepreneurs make, especially in the well, not products too, is that we don't build our labor into the delivery of that service or product. Your time is worth money too. So build out a budget for your time, build your time into it and see what that number is. And if you look at that and what you're charging the client and there's a deficit, that means that you need to raise your prices to
Yes.
have a healthy profit margin. You need to know what your profit margin should be in your industry as well.
Yes. Oh, that is incredibly helpful because just because it sounds like a lot of money, when you do all those calculations, then you realize, wait, I made $20? That
Exactly.
don't seem worth
Didn't
it.
build yourself into it at all.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
dang.
Because we
So
think we're making money, but it's like you didn't put yourself into it. So yeah, it's like, oh, I'm making money, but not really.
not really. Yes.
Yeah.
That's why you have to book with Joy because she'll be like, look at all these things you are paying for and all your time is worth. And sometimes you need that shift. Thank you so much, Joy. Okay, next question. I'm going to kick this to Alex. How do you make sure that you're not just in the room, but that people in the room know exactly how epic you are and they want to work with you? So I know you kind of touched on this earlier a little bit, but like, what are your thoughts on that, Alex?
First answer I would give is um, go back to what gives you courage. And in that space where you're not clear, scenario one, the courage will go back to the value you've delivered for your best champions. For a scenario where you're in the room and you know your allies or you know your champions or your strategic targets, speak to the value that you know you have if you're having a one-on-one conversation with them and their friends, because their friends are the rest of the people in the room. And in the scenario three, where you're the star of the show and you know it as soon as you've walked in and you've been invited, well, allow yourself to listen because you're going to be told what you can enable the room to do as you are the focus. That's what I would say.
Yes, thank you so much, Alex. That is super helpful in thinking about, okay, like what can I leverage? Who am I? How can I share this with the people in the room? Savannah, my next question is for you, and I want to kick this to you, obviously open to all panelists, but because you mentioned mindset, can you share a personal story about a time you had to shift your mindset to prepare for success and what big opportunity might have come as a result of that?
Yes. So I feel like I've lived many different lives in running my business for 3 years. I know this was a topic that, if you guys are familiar with Tabitha Brown, who brought up recently, it was kind of like a controversial thing, but it was like, I think she said, is your business a business? Like, is it paying you or is it just a hobby? And I think I had the mindset when I was first starting that, like, this is immediately going to pay my bills. It was very, 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 very naive of me. But I feel like once you're in it and you are, emotionally attached to your business, if you have to take a step back and you have to get a part-time job and put more money into the business, that somehow you've like failed. And I struggled with that mindset as well. But for anyone listening that is like kind of in that position, especially with, rising prices and tariffs and the kind of current economical state of the country, it's okay to have to take a step back and, do some on-call work or do some part-time work. So that's something that I did at the beginning of last year. It allowed me to kind of get through my slower season, which is right after the holidays, kind of like the beginning of the year, January to about April. So it helped me get through that period of time in my business. And then get to the busy season of my business, reinvest some money into the business as well. And, since then I haven't needed to work elsewhere since. So sometimes you just need that little extra push, that little extra boost to get you kind of to the next level. So don't be afraid, don't be ashamed if you need to do that for yourself.
Yes, I love the mindset. Sometimes it's just those little sayings that really can shift your perspective, and that even Joy mentioned it, like having that slow, continuous growth is sometimes better for the longevity of your business. And so being okay with making the steps as it makes sense so you can really scale up your business. Super helpful. Okay, I do want to mention one thing because I'm seeing some questions about how to stay in touch with the panelists and whatnot. The panelists have shared places that you can stay connected with them. So I'm going to ask my colleague Amber to drop all of those links in the chat. You'll see their websites or their LinkedIn. In Joy's case, you can actually book with her. So those kinds of things will be in the chat so you can look into those. And then I also see a couple of questions about a recording. Yes, recording, resources, all the acronyms, they're going to be available to you tomorrow when you get your follow-up email. Okay, so this next question, let me go through. I'm finding all my questions. Okay, so this next question, Alex, I want to kick this to you. We have a business who is trying to figure out where are the best opportunities for them? Like, where do they go to find out what is available? We've been talking about all of these, like, there's conferences, there's, all these opportunities, but where can a business owner really go to find these in their area?
I would suggest that you focus on either the industry groups or the coalitions that are geographically closest to you. So the industry groups will allow you to connect with corporate buyers that specifically are contracting the service providers of that industry. So if you're in IT, professional services, agriculture, et cetera. And then geographically, there are coalitions that have chapters, boots on the ground activations, and even collaborate so that they can get something tailored to a demand that may be local. I'll point to Southern Cal and Hawaii after the fires. Coalitions were put into the spotlight to mobilize and execute the needs of suppliers in the area that were still trying to fulfill contracts or needed to become capitalized so that they could feed their families, continue to hire, continue to drive our economy forward. So those would be the two areas I would focus on.
Yeah, that's great. Looking in that geographical area and seeing what is available to you there. Love that. This next question, Joy. Oh, yeah, please.
I just wanted to add one quick thing to that, and I agree with Alex on the industry focused events, but I think it's also important to understand your target audience. So if you really understand who your target audience is, then you also know exactly where to find them. So leverage AI to also give you some recommendations to where can I find these people. And so but it's really important for you to understand. And it's not just, oh, this person needs a service. What are their hobbies? What are their interests? Because you can also align with strategic partners that have access to your target audience. So, for example, my beauty business, it's professional women, suburban moms, people who want to do special events. But someone else that has access to my target audience are hotels, convention centers. So I'm looking at those people. So also think about what businesses complement yours and how you can form partnerships there to get access to your target audience as well.
I'm on mute, y'all. Okay, yes. That is wonderful. And this next question, Joy, kind of like piggybacks on that or, a little expansion on that. So, how can businesses identify networking opportunities? Because you mentioned earlier that you had joined all these, I want to say clubs. They're not clubs. Thank
Associations,
you.
chambers, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, you joined
Yeah,
all these associations in order
yeah,
to like, connect, but they weren't they didn't have access to your target audience. So how can a
yeah.
business identify networking opportunities that do align
Right.
with their target audience?
And listen, I'm not knocking chambers or any other associations. It just was not aligned, as we talked about alignment before. They weren't aligned with me. And I'm also an introvert, so I don't like networking. I don't like being around a lot of people. So I have to strategize a different way, So I'm big on relationship building and warm introductions. So people that I know introduce me to people, and then I've made connections in the business industry and stay top of mind. So that's where that follow up is important too. But in terms of identifying networking opportunities, so again, I go back to like with on the go glam. If I know I want to be in a room with people who are in the hospitality industry or hotels, then I'm going to something that has hotel GMs in the room. I'm going to convention center decision makers. Like I'm always thinking about who can I be in the room with that are decision makers to the opportunities I want. Because here's the thing about networking. If you're in a room full of people who are trying to do the same thing you're doing, trying to hustle the same business opportunities that you are, and there are no decision makers in the room, you're in the wrong room. And so, yes, you can collaborate with those people, but they're also they're looking for opportunities just like you. So again, you want to seek opportunities where there are collaborations that are available through people in the room, but also decision makers. Like just I tell people all the time, don't go stomping the pavement and paying all this money for people who are not going to patronize your business. And then so I'm sure Savannah can speak to this as well, but it just doesn't make sense. Like you really have to go to where your audience is. So again, for me, I'm going to where decision makers are. When I first started my business, I knew I wanted to work with the government. I knew I wanted to work with corporations. So I was targeting all the procurement leads. So I built relationships. And so when there were opportunities, hey Joy, did you apply for this RFP? Did you submit for this opportunity? Because I had built those relationships. Relationships are gold. As they say, your net worth is your net worth. So that's where you get a lot of opportunities. And I know it may seem daunting to reach out to people, and some people won't respond. Some people will say no. But do you know how many doors there are still available for you? So it's a detour, not a door.
Yes, I really love that mindset of, some people may not respond, but they also might be busy and they might think of you. Oh, I remember that person who reached out to me a couple times. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, someone's like, hey, did you want to apply for this or whatnot? But that is such a good point in understanding like who's in the room and making sure you're really utilizing your time the best. Savannah, this next question is for you because you mentioned partnerships and how you've used some of those for your business. So, this person has a product-based small business and they're looking to collaborate with home cooks and non-chef food influencers. Do you have any suggestions on types of partnership opportunities that would work best in that space? They're considering providing free products or offering discounts for their followers. Just trying to like kind of pick your brain a little bit about your thoughts on these kinds of partnerships.
Yes, yeah. So I've done the same thing. You can do, gifted collabs, you could do paid collabs. It really just depends kind of what your budget is. I think an important thing to look at is the engagement with that particular creator, but then also like who is their audience basically. Like, because if their audience doesn't align with the audience that you try to target, you might not have that translation in sales. I think it's also important to have some type of metrics to track whether or not the partnership was successful. And that might not just be like orders, because if you partner with a large creator, they have the influence to have people just try the product, but what is like the returning customer rate? Those are important things to keep track of to see if a partnership was successful. And I think having conversations with whoever you're looking to partner with about how you align in your audiences, in your kind of like ethos, and just how you want to market your product, how you want them to speak about your product, making sure that these things align before you jump into that partnership is a very important way to see if you'll even have that translation and have a successful partnership.
Yes, super helpful again, and having that line of sight. Are we lining up? Is this an effective use of my time? Okay, Joy, another question we have is, do you think it's smart for a small business owner to invest in CRMs, automation, cyber security, slash e-commerce to stay competitive?
I don't know about staying competitive, but that's just a necessity to have automation in your business. Automation and delegation are your best friends. So I think that is necessary. That goes back to what I was saying about having systems in place. You absolutely need to keep track of all of those things in your business. Safety of your clients' information, tracking systems for any projects that you're doing. If you have a product-based business, having an inventory management system, having a financial management system. You need to know where your money is going in and out. So QuickBooks, Zero Wave, whatever it is, having a tracking system for all of that. So the five key areas of your business are human resources, operations, legal, finance, and marketing. Each of those requires you to have processes or systems in place to manage your business. And so you can book a call with me or one of my trusted colleagues. We can talk more about that. But absolutely, yes, you need those in place as a necessity of running and scaling your business.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I love that. Also, thank you guys for taking part in that speed round of Q&A. There were so many good questions in the chat. I do want to highlight a couple of things. I've seen some people ask about like funding or, next steps. We have a lot of resources on that, but we do have a group coaching opportunity. If you are looking for funding for your business or you're considering that and the next stage of business growth, you can go to this group coaching session, learn the kind of ins and outs of what you can do to be prepared. I will drop that in the chat. Additionally, as we mentioned, we have, all these resources available, but I do want to thank NMSDC again for partnering with us on this webinar. And also they have a big opportunity coming up. Their big conference is coming up in November. And so we will have that link available if that is something that seems like it would be a good fit for your business. So obviously, Alex has shared a lot of ways you can find all of our Alex, Joy, Savannah have all shared so many ways you can find those next opportunities. But we just want to highlight that one. I do want to thank Savannah Campbell, Joy M. Hutton, and Alex Swain for joining us today and sharing so much valuable information. If your question did not get answered, please do not worry. I promise there will be resources tomorrow and places and spaces where you can follow up. I also want to thank all the business owners. You know, time is limited, it is our only limited resource, and you all came here today. We really hope that you got something out of this. And if not, there is a next step in the follow up for you tomorrow. So thank you, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one. Bye.